Now I'm going to put the control panel or the instrument panel in here and the other bits also. But in order to do that, there's no surface to mount this to, so I have to make one out of epoxy putty. And you can do that in, what is that, probably Magic Sculpt, but that takes overnight to dry. This stuff takes about 20 minutes to set up. Work a little bit faster. I'm not sculpting anything, I'm just making some mounts. You buy this putty in your plumbing part of your hardware store, so it's not super expensive. Definitely use rubber gloves. It is an epoxy. You don't want to get that stuff on your hands. You could develop a what do you call it, a sensitivity to it. I just take it, and I don't need too much, so I'm gonna just take a clump off here, mix it up so I get the little plastic film off of it. And of course, a well ventilated area. I have stuff that sets up in 6 minutes, but that's not enough time. You just mix this up to a nice even gray. The positioning of this instrument panel is all eyeballing. I'm just setting it up so it's in the center. What I don't want to do is transfer all the crap on the gloves from mixing the epoxy onto the model itself. And I'm just going to take 2 small ball shapes. It's a little bit too much. Don't need that much. I'll do that. So now I got two little balls right there. But I have all the residue all over this. I'm not going to handle that with these hands, so I'm taking the gloves off. And what I want to do is position this right in the middle. So I'm going to put a blob right there. I glued a piece of wood to the back of this just to give it some stiffness, because if you press on it, it'll bend, and the instrument panel needs to be flat. I'm just going to go right underneath the windows, in between, and I'm just pressing the putty behind it. And now I'm turning around and I'm looking at it, and it's not on center. So I want to make sure it's even and on center. It's pretty to do. You just look at the TV screen, and if the TV screen's on center, everything else should be. And making sure it's not crooked this way or leaning forward or leaning back. It just needs to be perpendicular. I see you have a little bit of goo coming in between the have the time. I'm going to get that out of there. guy. That could have been terrible. You could feel it if you've got a good bite onto the background. I'm going to go back into the center here, put another wad. Make sure I'm not touching those windows at all. There we go. Okay. Let me get better than that. Now this is already also an adhesive, so I shouldn't have to go back and glue anything. It should just stay put. So I am going to let that set up. But I know that I'm on center there. And I'll probably just go over the top of that with a little bit of flat black to blend those windows into it. Just so there's not that sharp edge in there. I know it's straight. And I'm going to let that kick off. But he's getting warm. I'm just going to let that be. And go wash my hands. Well, I just glued the center console in, and I forgot to turn the camera on, so there it is, center console. That's just super good to the bottom. There's the two chairs and their support, and that they slide right in there too. But those are the last parts. I'm going to install the top portion that goes in here like that. And it looks like I'm going to have to put super glue on just the edges because it's supposed to be a flat piece, and I want it to cover the seam of the upper window. So you got a piece of debris in here too. I don't know if you can. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. I'm just going to push it around with this cotton swab because my fingers are too big. I want it to be right there. Okay, I got a visual representation of where it needs to be. Looking for any interior smudges on the window. I'm not seeing them. So I'm just going to put some super glue here. And here. I think that's where it's going to stay. Nope, it is too low, so I'm going to try to snap it off and move it up. If I was smart, I would do this with epoxy so I could move it around, just hold it in place instead of letting the glue dictate how long I have to work. I like that right there, and I'm sticking to it. Still sitting a little low for me. If I could pop it, I'll move it. If I can't, I won't. Oh, the joys of prototyping. I'm just shaving off the glue that's been building up since I started. I'm starting all over again. Now it looks like I'm just going to put it all the way up on the crease. I can see the bottom of the panel from the front windshield. That's why I moved it. So now this works. There's a side panel that goes in there right here. Oops, that's upside down. So I'm just going to put a spot of glue on there. And the panel just sits right there. And in front of it, there's another gauge. I'll have to put some. Have to put some glue on that. This guy's going to be a little tricky because he sits right here. I don't think I might have to cut it short because there's not enough room to go all the way back to here. So I'm going to have to do a little surgical cut in there. In the meantime, I'm just going to put the other gauge right there. And that is this one right here. Crude but effective. Oops. Actually wanted to scrape some of the paint away from this first. Okay, so then I'm going to test fit it to make sure those pieces fit within here. Make sure that's not bottomed out. Okay, that's good. Lines up. There it goes in there. Oops. I'd have to hog out the top of it a little bit. This is thicker than this area right here. It's a quick fix. Kind of cool. You can see the panels. The windows. You pull it up there. Yeah, they are. And if you look in through the, it's kind of hard for me to. There you go. It's kind of neat. Okay, moving forward, I've got one last bit, paneling bit to put in, and it's on the right side of the driver, or it sits right here. I'm going to scrape the paint off. Another knife. Knives rolling all around the place. There it is. My scraper knife. I'm going to put it right here. Drop the glue. Tweezers. Come around this with a little bit of panel wash. Tie it all in together. Alright. So far, so good. Now, this being a prototype, I have some work with the chairs to do to make sure that they go in the straight. Some residual glue on the bottom was from, I had them glued to a stick for painting.
We'll glue one in first. Just making sure it looks perpendicular and square with the floorboard. Just looking at the floorboard, making sure. Okay, so this works. One of the fun things about making a model kit yourself is you have to try to figure out what you were thinking when you made your parts. I made a long hiatus in between builds on this. I've forgotten about a few things, and I've actually used not a final part for the center console. The new console actually attaches onto this floorboard piece, but I already did all that painting, so I wanted to just let it sit. So now the chairs move forward like that, and I got to mix more epoxy putty to put the chairs in. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and I'll try to stay centered in the picture. Get some new gloves, mix up a wad of epoxy. Okay, a couple balls there. All right. And again, it's just lining everything up. I'm pressing the epoxy putty against the floorboard. floorboard's so flat, I don't think I roughed it up enough. I'll probably have to pop it loose and super glue it in place. Doesn't look bad. Everything's lining up nice. It doesn't look crazy out of whack. All right. Let's see, it all lines up. Looks pretty cool. All right, that's. I'm gonna go clear out that side piece. Anyway, so that's the entire interior. That's as far as I'm taking it. Next step is fusing this to the front cab section. So that'll be the next installment of getting these guys together.